My family insisted I marry my dad's best friend's son, but when I eloped with my boyfriend instead, they lost their minds. Can you believe my family tried to force me into an arranged marriage? My dad's best friend's son, of all people. But guess what? While they were still blowing up my phone, furious about my refusal, I had a little surprise for them. I just sent them a wedding photo. Yeah, my wedding photo. My name's Zara, and for almost 2 years, Logan has been my world. We met at our friend Andre's monthly game night. You know, those casual, chaotic evenings where everyone brings dollar store snacks and just loses themselves in board games. My parents, well, they're traditional. Not the summer home and country club kind of traditional, but the dad works endless overtime and mom stretches every dollar kind. Their mantra has always been, family comes first, which really just means whatever dad says, goes. Logan and I have kept things pretty low-key around them. Not exactly hiding, but not shouting it from the rooftops either. He'd come to a few family events, always brought my mom flowers, which she'd aggressively put in the kitchen, never the living room, and tried his best to talk sports with my dad, who usually just grunted in response. Then came last Sunday. I showed up for our regular dinner, expecting the usual. Mom was making her famous pot roast, the one she somehow makes last all week. Dad was glued to the TV. My sister Vera was texting on the couch. Everything felt normal until I noticed extra places set at the table. Who else is coming? I asked Mom, helping with the salad. Oh, Warren and Dexter are joining us, she said, so casually. Warren. He's Dad's best friend from high school. They work together. And Dexter? Warren's son. I barely knew him, just that he was 27 and also worked with them. Dinner started off fine. Warren arrived with Dexter, who was wearing a button-up shirt that still had the creases from the store, like he'd just unwrapped it. My mom kept piling the best pieces of meat onto his plate, all while giving me these weird, meaningful looks. Vera, bless her heart, was kicking me under the table, her eyes wide with some secret knowledge. Then, between the pot roast and Mom's box mix brownies, Dad cleared his throat. Zara, he began, and that's when my stomach clenched. You know that feeling, right? When you just know something terrible is coming. Warren and I have been talking. Dexter here is ready to settle down. Warren chimed in, beaming like he'd just won the lottery. And we thought, what better match than our two families coming together? I nearly choked on my water. What? It makes sense, my dad continued, not even looking at me. Warren and I are expanding the business. Dexter's going to take over his father's part eventually. You two would make a good match. My fork was literally frozen halfway to my mouth. The brownie I just popped in turned to sawdust. Dexter was staring intently at his plate, looking about as comfortable as I felt. I'm dating Logan, I blurted out, stating the obvious truth that everyone at that table already knew. My mom waved her hand dismissively. Oh, honey, that's just a young girl's fancy. We're talking about your future here. Your mother's right, Dad added, his voice firm. Logan's a nice enough kid, but he's not going anywhere. Dexter here has a real future in the business. I glanced at Dexter, still fascinated by his brownie. He hadn't said a single word. Warren was grinning like he'd solved world hunger, and my parents were looking at me, expectant. This is insane. I finally managed. I'm not marrying Dexter. I love Logan. My dad's face did that thing where it turned slightly purple. This isn't about love, Zara. This is about family and future. I didn't say another word. Just grabbed my crossbody bag and practically ran out the door. Logan was already waiting in his car around the corner, like we'd planned for our Walmart run. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely buckle my seatbelt. That was yesterday. Today, my phone exploded. Message after message from Mom, begging me to be reasonable and think about the family. Vera sent a string of WTF texts, followed by warnings that Dad was deadly serious. Even my cousin Ophelia called, asking if it was true. Logan and I stayed up late last night in his tiny studio apartment, just talking, trying to figure out what to do. We'd been planning to move in together next month, nothing fancy, just a small 2-bedroom in Andre's complex. Now, I wondered if we needed to speed things up. I muted most of my family on my phone, but I could still see the message count growing. The only person I'd responded to was Vera, who swore she wouldn't tell anyone I was staying with Logan. I was so lost. I love my family, but this? This is nuts, right? It's 2024, not 1825. Who even does arranged marriages anymore, especially over something as boring as a business deal? I needed advice. Logan was being incredibly supportive, but he kept saying it was my decision to make. And I just knew, deep down, I wasn't marrying Dexter, no matter what kind of future my dad thought it would give me. First update, 2 weeks later, and what a roller coaster. I'm writing this from Logan's couch at 1 in the morning, stress-eating dollar store cookies. Our water heater just broke, and the landlord's ignoring us, so it felt like the perfect time to update you all while waiting for the kettle to heat water for a sink shower. Seriously. The day after my last post, I waited until my parents were at work and snuck home to grab some essentials. Vera was home sick from community college, and as I frantically shoved clothes into my duffel bag, she spilled all the tea. This whole situation? Way messier than I thought. The truth came out in pieces. Warren's business was in deep trouble. Dad was also stressed about money, something I should have noticed from the kitchen faucet that had been dripping for months. This wasn't some romantic, traditional arrangement. It was a desperate business merger. They wanted to use my dad's contracts to keep Warren's company from collapsing. Real romantic, huh? Things got even crazier when I found out my parents had already put down a non-refundable deposit on a wedding venue. They'd booked it for Warren's birthday party, but apparently signed it as an engagement celebration. My mom was actually showing the contract to everyone, like it was proof I couldn't back out now. It was some fancy converted barn, probably costing more than I make in 3 months. The next few days were a blur of missed calls and emotional messages. My cousin Ophelia dropped by Logan's with some winter clothes she'd borrowed, and confided that my mom had been calling everyone in the family, crying about how I was throwing my life away. The family gossip mill was churning at full speed. Apparently, Dexter still lived in his parents' basement and spent most of his time playing Fortnite. What a catch I was missing out on. Work wasn't much better. My manager, coincidentally, cut my hours after my mom called the store, crying about her troubled daughter. Now I was scrambling to pick up shift swaps just to make rent. Logan was dealing with his own issues. His car failed inspection, and the repairs would cost more than the car itself. Our living situation was getting challenging. Logan's studio apartment was not meant for 2 people. We were constantly stepping over each other, and his downstairs neighbor kept complaining about extra noise. My entire skincare routine was now living in the bathroom sink because there was literally nowhere else to put it. Last night, I found my mascara in the kitchen cupboard next to the ramen noodles. That's the level of organization we're at. The financial strain was becoming terrifyingly real. Reduced hours, unexpected moving expenses. Who knew you needed so many random things? I started selling clothes on Poshmark, just to build up some savings. Logan was picking up odd jobs on TaskRabbit, but it was barely covering the basics. Rice and beans became our closest friends. The situation hit a new low when I ran into my parents at Walmart while discount shopping. What followed was a scene straight out of a bad drama. Tears in the cereal aisle, accusations about family loyalty, and vague threats about Warren selling to some big corporation. We just grabbed our generic brand essentials and left, but not before Mom noticed our cart and started crying even harder about how I deserved better than this life. Today's fresh hell? Discovering my parents had apparently been saving for my wedding since I was born. Mom sent photos of the wedding fund passbook, a not-so-subtle reminder of what I was throwing away. The guilt trip came with a side of childhood photos and screenshots of current wedding venue prices. And to make matters worse, our planned apartment fell through. The landlord decided to rent to his nephew instead. We were back to square one. Logan's lease expired in 2 weeks, and finding an affordable place was proving impossible. His friend Andre offered us his spare room temporarily, but accepting felt like admitting defeat, especially since Andre lives in his parents' garage conversion and his mom still does his laundry. Logan was incredibly supportive, but I could tell this was wearing on him. Yesterday, I found him just staring at ramen packages with this defeated look that broke my heart a little. The extended family's involvement was the absolute worst. My phone was constantly buzzing with messages from relatives I barely saw, all suddenly experts on why I was making a huge mistake. Vera kept me updated on the home front. Apparently, Dad was now talking about writing me out of his will, which would be more threatening if there was anything to inherit. When I caught myself wavering, I'd look at Logan, maybe playing Wordle on his phone or humming while washing dishes. And I absolutely knew, I couldn't give in. We weren't some business merger, some assets to be traded. This was our lives. Even if, right now, those lives involved sharing a single bath towel because we forgot to grab mine during the Great Escape. For now, we're taking it day by day. Apartment hunting during lunch breaks, blocking new numbers as they pop up, and trying to figure out our next move. At least we have each other, even if our current date nights consist of comparing rental listings over microwave ramen. Second update. Hey Reddit. Remember me, Zara? The one whose parents tried to arrange a marriage to my dad's best friend's son, Dexter? Well, a lot has happened in the past week. I'm writing this from a $45 a night motel room, eating leftover pizza, and still wearing my $30 Amazon dress. It wasn't exactly the wedding I dreamed about as a kid, but honestly, it was perfect in its own weird, beautiful way. The decision to elope came after I found out my parents had started sending out pre-engagement party invitations to that fancy barn venue. Vera sent me a photo of the invitation. They'd even picked out my future married name and everything. That was the final, absolute straw. Logan and I had been talking about marriage anyway, especially since we'd been living together for the past few weeks. One night, while sharing a bowl of microwave mac and cheese and watching our neighbor's cat, we've named her Princess, even though she's not ours. We just looked at each other. And we knew. We planned it for a random Tuesday. Not because it was special, but because we both managed to get the day off work, and the courthouse had an opening. Andre, Logan's friend, not my dad's, agreed to be our witness. I bought a simple white dress from Amazon that honestly looked better in the photos, and Logan wore his one good button-down shirt, the one without any wrinkles. The morning of, everything that could go wrong did. The zipper on my dress got stuck. Logan's car made that weird noise again and wouldn't start. We had to take an Uber to the courthouse, splitting the fare 3 ways with Andre because, well, we're all broke. The driver kept asking why we were dressed up, and we just said we had a court appointment. Technically true, right? The ceremony itself took maybe 10 minutes. The clerk was eating her lunch while processing our paperwork, and there was a guy in the corner frantically filling out jury duty forms. Not exactly romantic, but we couldn't stop grinning like idiots. Andre took photos on his phone. Most of them are blurry, but there's one really good one where Logan and I are just looking at each other and laughing, because I almost dropped the $12 ring we got. We celebrated at the diner around the corner, splitting a plate of fries and a milkshake because that's what was left in our wedding budget. Andre insisted on paying for his own coffee, saying it was his wedding gift to us. The waitress gave us free pie when she found out we'd just gotten married. First bit of wedding luck we'd had all day. Then came the hard part, telling people. We decided to do it with a simple Instagram post. Just that one good photo Andre took, with a casual caption. So we did a thing. The first response was from Ophelia, just a string of crying emojis. Then Vera called, simultaneously laughing and crying. She was happy for us, but so worried about the fallout. Which, well, she was right to be. My mom saw the post while at the grocery store. I know this because she called me from the parking lot, sobbing so hard the cart attendant asked if she needed help. She kept saying things about how she'd never be able to show her face at church again. How could you do this to the family? What about the venue deposit? Dad's reaction came through Vera. Apparently, He threw his phone across the room when he saw the post. Warren, his best friend, immediately drove over to their house. Dexter, surprisingly, actually liked our Instagram post and even commented, "Congratulations," which probably didn't help the situation. The extended family response has been a mix of shocked Facebook messages, angry texts, and a few quiet congratulations. My cousin tagged me in a TikTok about ungrateful children. Real mature. We're currently laying low in this motel because our apartment application is still processing, and Logan's lease ended yesterday. The room smells like old cigarettes, and the Wi-Fi keeps cutting out, but it's our first home as a married couple. We've been watching random YouTube videos on Logan's phone and ordering cheap takeout, making the best of it. The wedding venue called. Turns out my parents tried to cancel my engagement party, but still lost the deposit. They're apparently telling everyone I forced them to book it, which is a very creative interpretation of events. Money's still tight. We're both picking up extra shifts when we can, and I'm selling more stuff on Poshmark. The apartment we applied for isn't fancy. It's a ground floor 1-bedroom with a weird layout and no dishwasher, but it would be ours. The leasing office said they'd let us know by Friday. Vera has been our main source of news from home. Mom's apparently redecorated my old room already, took down all my photos and everything. Dad's telling everyone at work that I'm going through a phase. Warren's wife keeps trying to arrange a family meeting to fix things. The strangest reaction came from Dexter himself. He sent me a DM saying he's actually relieved, because now he can finally tell his dad about his girlfriend. Apparently, they've been dating for over a year, and she's not just a streamer. She's also a single mom. Warren would definitely not approve. Logan and I are taking it day by day. Sometimes I wake up panicking about everything we've done, but then Logan makes me laugh by trying to cook ramen in our motel room's coffee maker, and I remember why I chose this. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Third update. Sometimes, the truth just hits you in the most unexpected ways. In my case, it came through a stack of water-damaged papers I found while helping Vera clean out our flooded basement after last week's storm. The basement incident happened when Vera called, panicking about water seeping in. Mom and Dad were at some church fundraiser, so Logan and I drove over to help save what we could. While moving boxes to higher ground, I found Dad's old filing cabinet had tipped over, papers everywhere, mostly soaked. As we were sorting through what could be saved, I found something incredibly interesting. Loan documents. Lots of them. All with Warren's signature, and my dad as guarantor. The dates went back years, small loans at first, then bigger ones. The most recent was from just before this whole marriage mess started. Some had final notice stamps. Others had payment schedules with missed checkmarks. It was like looking at a timeline of Warren's business slowly, agonizingly sinking. But here's where it got truly wild. Mixed in with the loan papers were printed out emails between Dad and some big development company. They were interested in buying both businesses, Dad's and Warren's, but only if they came as a package deal. The offer was actually decent enough to clear all the debts and then some. The catch. They wanted proof of stable succession planning. Basically, they weren't buying unless they knew the businesses would stay together long term. And that's where Dexter and I came in. The perfect, simple solution to show the businesses would be family-run for years to come. While we were still processing this bombshell, Vera found even more papers. Turns out, Warren had been hiding just how bad things were from everyone, including his wife. He'd mortgaged their house twice without telling her. My dad had co-signed everything, probably thinking Warren would turn things around eventually. The real kicker? A draft of a contract, dated just before the whole marriage proposal. Warren had already started selling off equipment to cover payments. Dad was about to lose everything he'd built up over 20 years because he trusted his best friend. I took photos of everything before the water could destroy them completely. Then, I sent them to Dexter. He deserved to know. His response was just, "Well, that explains the rush." Apparently, his dad had been pushing him to settle down for months, even tried to break him up with his girlfriend. The next day, Ophelia came over to our apartment, bringing housewarming ramen because that's our thing now. She had more tea. Warren's wife found out about the second mortgage and had moved in with her sister. Dexter finally told everyone about his girlfriend and her kid, and he moved in with them. Warren was staying with his brother, supposedly to give her space, but probably because she changed the locks. Dad still won't talk to me directly, but he's been asking Vera weird questions about my new place, if I'm eating enough, that kind of thing. Mom switched from angry Facebook posts to sharing missing my daughter memes, which, I guess, is progress. Yesterday, I even got a text from Warren. Just, I'm sorry. I haven't responded yet. Not sure I will. Logan's been amazing through all this. He doesn't say much about it, just holds me when I need it and makes terrible jokes when I get too serious. Last night, he tried to lighten the mood by suggesting we could start our own business, something simple, like maybe selling those little hats for cats online. We're doing okay. The apartment's slowly coming together. Found a real bed frame on Facebook Marketplace yesterday. Our upstairs neighbor's kid practices trumpet at 7 a.m. every day, but we're getting used to it. I'm picking up extra shifts at work, and Logan started doing food delivery on weekends. It's not glamorous, but the bills are getting paid. Vera says Dad's been in his garage a lot lately, probably trying to figure out what to do next. The development company pulled their offer when the merger fell through. She overheard Mom telling her friend on the phone that they might have to sell the house, the one they've lived in since before I was born. Part of me feels guilty, even though I know none of this is really my fault. Another part is still so angry that they tried to use my life to fix their business problems. Mostly, I'm just tired of the whole thing. Last update. I wasn't planning on posting again, but I just had the most surreal Thanksgiving experience, and I thought you all might want to know how things turned out after the whole arranged marriage drama. First off, Logan and I are still in our tiny apartment. We finally got a real bed frame. Goodbye, air mattress. And the neighbor kid has moved on from trumpet to drums. Progress. The upside is we found out our other neighbor works at a furniture outlet, so we got a slightly damaged couch for practically nothing. It has a weird stain that kind of looks like Danny DeVito if you squint, but it's comfortable. The biggest change happened about 2 months ago. Mom started sending these weird, thinking of you texts, usually late at night when she was watching those crying videos on Facebook. Then she asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, mostly because I was tired of dodging her at the grocery store. We met at that diner where Logan and I had our wedding reception. She cried into her coffee, I awkwardly stirred my tea, and somehow, we ended up having an actual conversation. Turns out, Dad's business survived. Barely. They had to downsize, sell some equipment, and move to a smaller office, but they're managing. Warren's company wasn't so lucky. Speaking of Warren, he and his wife are officially separated. She got the house in the end. Remember those secret mortgages? He's still living with his brother, who apparently has started charging him rent. Dexter's doing surprisingly well. He moved in with his girlfriend and her kid, started streaming on Twitch himself, and actually makes decent money doing it. His mom told my mom he seems happier than he's been in years. He and Logan even game together sometimes, which is weird, but kind of nice. Dad took longer to come around. The breakthrough came when our car broke down again. Seriously, this thing is held together by hope and duct tape at this point. Logan was trying to fix it in the apartment parking lot when Dad just showed up. Vera had mentioned it to Mom, who mentioned it to Dad, and well, he didn't say much, just started helping with the car. Now they have this weird thing where they text each other car maintenance videos. Dad still barely talks to me directly, but he'll send Logan links to auto parts on sale. Baby steps, I guess. Thanksgiving was the real test. Mom had been hinting for weeks that we should come. I was hesitant, but Logan pointed out that free food is free food. We're still on a tight budget, so we went. It was awkward. So awkward. Aunt Alice kept making pointed comments about unconventional life choices. Uncle Bob pretended we weren't there. But Vera and Ophelia ran interference like champs. And Mom. She actually put our wedding photo on the mantel, right next to that horrible school picture of me from 7th grade with the braces and butterfly clips. The surprise guest was Warren's ex-wife. Apparently, she and Mom are still friends. She brought this amazing sweet potato casserole and spent most of dinner telling everyone about her journey of self-discovery and her new hobby. Dad looked like he wanted to disappear into his mashed potatoes. The real highlight was when cousin Andre, not Logan's friend Andre, keep up, announced his engagement. Everyone immediately started planning this huge wedding, talking about venues and flowers and whatnot. Mom caught my eye across the table and actually winked. Progress. Our apartment is still small, but we've made it home. The ring finally turned my finger green, but I kind of like it. Matches our aesthetic. Logan's car is still making that noise, but we're saving up for a new one, slowly, very slowly. Work is work, nothing exciting, but we're both getting by. Logan started taking some online courses in computer stuff. I'm thinking about it too, but for now, I'm just trying to pick up extra shifts when I can. Vera comes over a lot, usually with food from Mom. I think she's Mom's spy sometimes, reporting back about whether our apartment is clean or if we're eating vegetables, but she also brings gossip about Warren and Dexter. His girlfriend's kid now calls him Papa D. What would you have done if your family tried to pull something like this? Or have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own happiness? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your stories.